Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I, an American, am going to be trying rum from North Carolina for the first time, which I am very glad to be doing, as I myself am from North Carolina. I was born and raised here, and I love North Carolina very much. It's my absolute favorite state in the United States, I will readily acknowledge. And in my personal opinion, North Carolina has a lot going for it. We have the mountains, we have the beach, and we have the middle section. We also have Krispy Kreme and Pepsi. We have a lot going for us, in my personal opinion. But is our rum actually any good? Well, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out for the first time today. Let me tell y'all what. What I've got with me today is a bottle of Queen Charlotte's Reserve rum, which was manufactured by the Muddy River Distillery near Charlotte, North Carolina. The Muddy River Distillery has been around since 2012, and according to their website, they are the first legal rum distillery in North Carolina. This bottle cost me $29.95 USD at my local liquor store, and the rum inside this bottle has an ABV of 42%, a proof of 84, and was aged for 1 year, along with also containing no added flavorings, sugars, or colors as well. And one other thing worth mentioning is that this bottle contains 750 milliliters of rum. But I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and do a quick 360 of this bottle. Then after that, I think I'm going to go ahead and get the wax on top all off, go ahead and get this bottle all opened up, go ahead and just take a little bit of a smell of the rum inside, see what it smells like and whatnot. And then after that, I think I'm going to go ahead and pour some in my glass, take a sip or two, and let y'all know just how rum from North Carolina actually is for the first time. I will acknowledge I am a little bit biased, as I myself am from North Carolina, and I'm very proud of North Carolina. I love North Carolina very much, but I'm going to do my best to give y'all an unbiased opinion as to whether this rum is actually good or not. But as said, first off, we've got to do a quick little 360 of the bottle itself. And we can see the bottle just looks like a pretty standard sort of liquor bottle, in my personal opinion. It's nothing super special. We can see there's some black wax up top right here with a little bit of a pull tab right there, which is quite nice. We can see on the front there is a little bit of a label right there. Just has a little bit of a gold crown that has some shininess going on. Under that, it just says Queen Charlotte's Reserve right there, with the reserve being in gold once again. And then under that in cursive, it just says Carolina rum right there. Then under that, it just says distilled and bottled by Muddy River Distillery. And then under that, it just says 42% alcohol by volume, 84 proof, just basically letting you know just what this rum is and all the information you may want to know about its strength and where it came from and everything like that kind of thing as well. There is a little bit of a background to this sort of white label. I'd have to say there's like some sort of faded out areas right here. I'm not exactly sure what those are. I will acknowledge maybe that's like a topographical map of like rivers or something like that kind of thing, because the name of this distillery is Muddy River Distillery. I really have no idea though, I will acknowledge. But either way, the label on the front doesn't look bad by any means, and I'd have to say while it does look a little bit more basic than not, it does also look pretty good. Let's go and move on to the back of the bottle, and we can see it just says Carolina rum right there, all in cursive in black once again. And then we can see there's a little bit of a number right there, and I would assume that's probably maybe the number of this bottle in the batch or something like that kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure, but it just says 44 right there, or maybe that's the batch number itself. I got no idea. Then under that, it just says distilled and bottled by Muddy River Distillery, Belmont, North Carolina. They're no longer in Belmont. They are now even closer to Charlotte, North Carolina. They moved. This bottle might have been made before they moved, or maybe the label has just not been updated or something like that kind of thing, but they're no longer in Belmont, I will acknowledge. Then under that just has their website, and then under that they just have like a little bit of a market segmentation spiel right there, which just says in black text, handcrafted with the finest ingredients and aged in virgin American white oak barrels. White oak barrels. This unique rum has a rich and complex flavor that can be enjoyed straight on the rocks or in your favorite cocktail. Our small batch rum is produced in one-of-a-kind stills, specifically designed and built by the company's founder and head distiller to produce a premium quality rum with a distinctive, smooth taste. We hope that you enjoy our American-made rum as much as we do. Company founder and head distiller, Robert Delaney. And so that's the market segmentation spiel, just basically trying to sell you on this rum and everything like that kind of thing. And when they say specifically designed, like, well, stills and everything like that kind of thing, I think they do mean it, because, well, I saw some photos of their stills on their website, and I was like, wow, this looks crazy. It looked like some Breaking Bad stuff, I ain't gonna lie. It looked pretty wild, although I probably shouldn't be comparing a legal distilling operation to like Breaking Bad and whatnot, but it looked wild. That was really the first thing that popped into my mind, in all honesty. They still just looked crazy. I was just like, wait a minute, wait, what? This is an alcohol still? It really did look very different than kind of how I imagined, in all honesty. I don't know that much about how rum is distilled and everything like that kind of thing. It might be normal, but it looked very different than what I imagined, I'll be honest with y'all. We can see there's just a government warning right there, barcode right there, and that's pretty much all there is to the black label, and there's really nothing else going on the bottle. You can definitely tell that they are a smaller distillery than not, as they don't have, well, any custom bottles being made specifically for them with like Queen Charlotte or Muddy River on it or anything like that kind of thing, and there's none of that sort of stuff going on the bottom as well or anything like that. It seems like a pretty standard bottle that they probably bought wholesale or something like that kind of thing, I will readily acknowledge. Without further ado, I do think it is now time for me to go ahead and get this wax all off. Let's see if I can do this. This is going to be my first ever time taking wax off of the top of a bottle as well, so I think I just need to pull this tab right here, probably. Yeah, I think I just need to pull this tab all the way around. Let me see. What I'm going to do is put this back so I can try to show y'all, because I'm just going to set it down on the table, and so I'm just going to pull this. So this has like a little bit of like a tab right here, and then there's the wax right here as well, and that just snapped off. I'm going to put that in my ashtray. Trying to get this all off. Thankfully, this little strip right here has not snapped. If it snapped, that would not be very fun, I'll acknowledge. So I like that it has not snapped. I know on some stuff it would have probably snapped or something like that kind of thing. The plastic on lots of liquor bottles is generally not a very big fan of me. What do I do now? I just lift it up. Does the wax come off, or is it the lid or cork itself that's coming off? Ah, all right, that's part of... Ah, there we go. Okay, so the wax itself, it doesn't come off. So the wax on the top doesn't come off. It's just part of the cork itself, which we can see is like a rubber or a plastic cork. And back in there. It has a very nice popping noise when it comes out. Let me tell y'all what. Alrighty, let's go and move this back a little bit closer to me once again. And now, let's go ahead and get to smelling some North Carolina rum for the first time. And right off the bat, smells pretty nice, I ain't gonna lie. I'm getting very much that of a sweeter than not, sort of sugary, like brown sugar molasses, I'd have to say, type of smell, with a little bit of fruits, a little bit of sort of like tropical fruits, I'd have to say. And I want to say, I want to say a little bit of coconut. In there. Yeah, like tropical fruits with a little bit of coconut. I'm just going to give myself just a moment just to kind of think about the smell. It's not a super heavy smell by any means. It is more mild than others. It's kind of heavy when I first opened the bottle, but it's definitely gotten more mild now that the bottle has been opened up just a little bit. Yeah, I'd have to say that the smell I'm getting is very much that of a sweeter than not sort of molassesy, sort of tropical fruits and coconut-like smell. That's very much the smell I'm getting from this bottle of rum. Smells pretty decent in my personal opinion. Let's go ahead and pour some in my glass I've got right here. There we go, just like that. And I am now going to go ahead and get the cork back on the bottle. And I think I'm going to go and just smell this real quick. Any of a different smell in the glass itself? I would have to say, describing the smell as having sort of a molasses overtone isn't really right. I've changed my mind about that. It's definitely got a more sweet overtone than not, but it's not really like brown sugary or molassesy. Like, there's definitely some of that in there, but it's more of an undertone than an overtone in my opinion. I would have to say the most prominent smell would really be, and it's sort of like tropical fruits, banana, coconut. That's kind of how it is. Yeah, I'd have to say that's right. And it's not quite like fresh banana. It's more like, for lack of a better way to put it, rotten banana, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. It's like rotten banana in a very positive way, like good, in a good smelling way, sort of rotten banana like. In a fermented way. I'd have to say in a fermented way. Fermented banana. Not rotten banana. Fermented banana. It's like saying cheap versus inexpensive. Like, I walked into one shop a while back and I made the mistake. I was like, hey, do y'all have any cheap cigars? I was just looking for some cheap cigars and whatnot to smoke. And they're like, we don't have any cheap cigars, but we do have inexpensive cigars. And I was like, I apologize. I realize what y'all carry is quality. I did not mean to say cheap when it comes to not quality. I just meant inexpensive, like not high-priced kind of thing. So yes, not rotten banana, fermented banana. Of course. But, you know, I'd have to say very much that of a most prominently sort of fermented banana sort of smell, a sort of tropical fruits, fermented banana, coconut-like smell on top. That's very much what the most prominent smell is. And then under that, and that whole smell is a little bit sweeter than that. And then under that, you get maybe a little bit of like brown sugar molasses, mainly molasses, I'd have to say. Or maybe not really molasses. It's not really brown sugar. It's not really... The smell of this is a little bit different than rums I've tried from other places in the past, I'll acknowledge, because while rum can be made from like any sugar, it can be made from cane juice, it can be made from molasses, it can be made from brown sugar. Most rums I've tried have sort of a brown sugar molasses-like smell to them. And so I was just kind of automatically thinking that this one does as well. But in all honesty, it's more of a sort of cane juice-like smell, interestingly enough. So yeah, I'd have to say the overall smell of this rum is very much that of a, sort of sweeter than not fermented banana, tropical fruits, coconut-like smell with an undertone of cane juice. And it's a sweeter than not smell as a whole. There's no sort of paint thinner going on. There's a little bit of alcohol, don't get me wrong, but it's not super intense. Yeah, very nice smell. I can't complain. I think without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a little bit of a screenshot for the thumbnail of this video. You know, gotta do it to them. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Excuse me. Hopefully that will do for a screenshot. We will find out. And one thing I forgot to mention is that the overall color of this rum is very much that of a sort of, I'd have to say, golden, almost sort of honey-like brown color, in my personal opinion. Looks very nice. Looks very nice to sip on, I'll acknowledge. Well, I do think without further ado, it is time for me to go ahead and take a sip of this. And I think it's time for me to go ahead and take my first ever sip of North Carolina rum. And I think it's time for me to find out just how this rum is, whether I like it or not, and whether I regret my purchase or not. Which I don't think I will, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be better than not. I hope at least. Without further ado, y'all, let's go and take a sip of this rum, and let's go ahead and find out just how it really is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. Ooh. Ooh. A little bit of spice, a little bit of hotness in the back of my throat for sure. Taste coming across very sweet. Very, very, very sweet taste. Very, cane juicy. Very cane juicy. Not really brown sugary, not really molassesy. More cane sugar juicy than not. A little bit of brown sugar in there, I want to say. But more cane juicy than not, which is very interesting. It is a little bit different than what I'm used to. Ooh. Yeah. You know, I was a bit nervous, I'll admit, because this rum has only really been, it's only been aged for 1 year. So it's not a completely fresh rum by any means, but it's only been aged for a year. The smoothest rums I've tried so far have been aged for a lot longer than that. But this is pretty smooth for having only been aged for a year, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, there's a decent amount of spiciness in the back of my throat, but I'm not really getting any sort of, I'm not getting any sort of alcohol sort of ickiness at all, at least initially. And the overall flavor is very nice. I'm gonna have to take more sips to really figure out what the actual flavor is, but it's very nice right off the bat. And you know, I've tried some rums in the past where it's just like, oh yeah, this is a good sipper, and they say that on the packaging, and I'm like, I try it, and I'm like, it's better in a rum and coke kind of thing. This they weren't lying by any means. I think this is actually a pretty solid sipper. Is it the best sipper I've ever had so far? Are the first 2 sips I've taken making me think this is the best rum I've ever had? No. However, it's certainly up there. I'll acknowledge it's not bad by any means. I don't mind this. Now, I'm not an expert in rum by any means. I'll readily acknowledge. I've only ever tried like a little bit over a handful of rums. But based off of my limited knowledge, I don't mind this. And I would definitely have to say that, in my opinion at least, this is better than the first ever rum I tried, which is the Bacardi Reserva Ocho 8, which is an 8-year aged rum from Bacardi. That was my first ever rum. I actually still don't mind that rum. I think it's still pretty solid. This is better though. And I'd have to say, the rum I've tried that's most similar to this one has got to be the Bacardi Reserva Ocho 8. This is a more fruity flavor than not. So does that. They're different. They're not exactly the same by any means. But this is probably the most comparable rum I've had to that one, and that's probably the most comparable rum I've had to this one. So very interesting. Initially, I'm not minding rum from North Carolina, I will readily acknowledge. But what's the flavor of this rum actually like? Gotta figure that out. It tastes like it smells, more so than not, I'd have to say. The flavor I'm getting right now is very much that of a prominent sort of coconut flavor with tropical fruits. There's a little bit of like fermented banana in there, but it's not quite as intense as the smell would have you believe. And then there's definitely that sort of cane juice, that sort of cane sugar juice in there as well, kind of thing. It definitely has a surprisingly sort of cane juice like flavor, in all honesty. Yeah, very interesting. I wouldn't describe the flavor as being vegetal by any means. I also wouldn't describe the flavor as being smoky or anything like that. It's just very much a tropical fruits sort of a flavor with like some fermented banana, coconut, and very much a cane juicy sort of flavor, I'd have to say. Very, very, very interesting. Definitely a little bit different than other rums I've tried so far. And even though the most comparable rum I've tried to this one has got to be the Bacardi Reserva Ocho 8, this is definitely still a little bit different, even when compared to that, in my personal opinion. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I gotta admit, I mean, like, it's a solid sipper. It's not a bad sipper by any means. When it comes to whether I think it would pair with a cigar quite well, I mean, like, I think it would be a better pairing with a cigar than not, I'll admit. Do I think it would be as good as something like, let's say, the Appleton 12? Probably not, no. But do I think it would be a bad pairing? By no means, by no means. However, I do think that this would probably pair better with a straight Virginia pipe tobacco or something like that kind of thing, I'll acknowledge. But if I was gonna drink this and have a cigar, I'd be wanting a Connecticut cigar more than likely, just based off the flavor. Like the Appleton 12, I kind of would want a Maduro, in all honesty. This one I would be wanting like a Connecticut. Do I think this would be good in a rum and coke? Yeah, probably decent. Probably not like the greatest I've ever tried in a rum and coke. I think there's definitely better rums out there for a rum and coke, in my personal opinion, than this rum, but I don't think it would be bad by any means, in all honesty. I think it would be pretty solid. And I'm trying to think, do I think this would be good in dark and stormy? I do think this rum would be really good in a dark and stormy, in all honesty. I think it would be very solid in one. I've never really tried a lot of rum cocktails, in all honesty. I've never had like a Mai Tai or a painkiller or anything like that kind of thing. I've only ever really tried like 2 of them, which is rum and coke like derivatives, like rum and Pepsi, or like dark and stormy, which is still a highball. I've only ever really had rum highballs, never really rum cocktails per se. So I don't really know how well this rum would pair with like a lot of rum cocktails, but maybe more fruity ones where you're supposed to get more fruity flavor from the rum in a cocktail. I think this would be a pretty solid pairing. Like if I was going to be mixing rum together in like a mango smoothie or something like that kind of thing, like if I wanted to put rum in a mango smoothie, I think this would honestly be like a solid pick for me, in all honesty, frankly put. But it wouldn't be something I'd like put in my coffee by any means. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to say the flavor I'm getting from this rum, it's not like super dynamic by any means. I'm not getting like an insane amount of depth to the flavor, but the flavor I'm getting is pretty solid and it's pretty good, and I'm liking it, frankly put. No, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, I'll admit. Just trying to think. About the flavor. Is there anything I'm missing? Like, the flavor doesn't have too much depth to it. It's just a solid flavor as a whole, in my personal opinion, but it doesn't have like an extreme amount of depth to it. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to say very much that of a cane juice sweet sort of flavor with undertones of coconut, tropical fruits, and fermented banana. And that's very much the flavor is like as a whole, in my personal opinion. Yeah. Sweet cane juice, tropical fruits, coconut, fermented banana. That's kind of what the flavor is in order, I would have to say. It's a nice flavor. It's a solid flavor. There's not too much depth. Yes, I'd have to say sip to sip. I almost said hit to hit, but sip to sip. I'd have to say the flavor doesn't really change particularly much. Of course, now that flavor is built up in my mouth, I'm kind of getting the flavors that... So it's changed a little bit just because it's been building up in my mouth, but it hasn't really changed too much, kind of thing. There's not really too much dynamicness to this rum. There's really not, I would have to say, by any means, a lot of depth to the flavor, but the flavor that is there is pretty solid in my personal opinion, and I do like this rum. I do. I'd have to say I like it. I'd have to say I actually like it a lot more than some other rums I've been trying as of late, frankly put. I'm going to finish off this glass momentarily, and I'm going to cover kind of where I want to put it rating-wise momentarily, but I definitely prefer it more than Bundaberg. I definitely prefer it just straight more than Old Monk, but I think I prefer Old Monk and rum and cokes more than this rum, because I just think think this rum is not really meant for rum and cokes. I don't think it would be bad in a rum and coke. I just don't think it would be the best. When it comes to the Bacardi Reserve Ocho 8, I'd have to say I prefer this rum. I have to say, I would have to say I prefer this rum. It's a little bit more expensive, rather than being like 28 bucks, it's 30 bucks roundabout, but it's not that much more expensive. Yeah. And I'd have to say, I took a little bit of a too big of a sip there. And I'd have to say, really the sort of fermented banana and coconut, it really hits. Like, the main thing on your tongue is really the sort of sugar cane juice, sort of sweet flavor. But the main thing really in the back of your throat, that would have to be like, and like the main thing on your tongue, it's just very much the sugar cane juice, tropical fruits, sort of like flavor. But in the back of your throat, that's really where the sort of coconut and sort of fermented banana flavor is, in my personal opinion, along with some of the tropical fruits as well. So it definitely does kind of show up in like two different parts of your mouth, I'd have to say, which is very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not minding this rum by any means, I'll acknowledge. I'm not minding it. In fact, I'm enjoying it. It's not just that I'm not minding it, I'm enjoying it. Oh. It's not the smoothest, though, I'll acknowledge. It is a bit rough. You really do got to take small sips, and I took some big sips at the very end, so it's a little bit rough. But not bad by any means at all. Just a little bit rough. Just a little bit rough. You can definitely tell it hasn't been aged for as long as something like, let's say, the Appleton 12, which is smoother in my personal opinion. But this has been a good experience, I gotta admit. I'm impressed. You know, I might be a little bit biased, as I'm from North Carolina myself. I love North Carolina. North Carolina, goated state, my favorite state in the entirety of the United States. And, you know, I gotta say, based off this one experience at least, we're making some pretty good rum as well. Not like the best rum I myself have ever tried, I'll acknowledge, but pretty solid rum nonetheless. And the good thing about this variety, the Queen Charlotte's Reserve, is that this is the 1 year. There's also a 4-year and an 8-year as well. And I assume in the future they're probably going to do like a 12-year or something like that kind of thing too. I definitely want to see if I can get my hands on like the 4-year or the 8-year, find out how those are, because if they can maintain this same taste with a little bit of a smoother profile kind of thing, it would really be really, really, really good, frankly put. And that's definitely something I would not mind trying in the future. Maybe with time, maybe develops a little bit more depth as well. I would really like that as well, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But yeah, overall, I gotta admit, the flavor of the Queen Charlotte's Reserve I tried today, very nice. Not super in-depth by any means, not dynamic by any means, but the flavor I got was really nice, really enjoyable, very nice, and a little bit more unique than not when compared to other rums I've tried in the past. Very much that sort of, I'd have to say, sugarcane juice sort of. Just got windy all of a sudden. It hasn't been windy this entire video, and the breeze is now coming by. That's odd, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But that sort of sugarcane juice sort of flavor was definitely a little bit different than I'm used to. I'm used to a more brown sugar molasses-like flavor, but that sort of sugarcane-like flavor really kind of threw me off, I'll acknowledge, and that's something I really like. It's a good flavor, it's a different flavor, it's something I appreciate. I think I can say with confidence, I like the flavor of the rum I tried today. I'm looking forward to drinking the rest of the bottle, and if I'm looking to buy a bottle of a rum I've tried before, I think I'm going to be having to buy another bottle of this in the future if I am feeling like drinking this rum again in the future. That is for sure. I would not mind buying another bottle of this, I will readily acknowledge. Overall, did I have a good experience with rum made in North Carolina today? I'd have to say I did. Can I say with confidence that all North Carolina rum is as good as the rum I tried today? I can't say that with confidence, but I can say that we do at least make some good rum. So certainly no complaints on my behalf, that is for sure. You know, what is the rating I want to give the Queen Charlotte's Reserve Carolina rum from Muddy River Distilleries? What kind of rating do I want to give this bottle right here? I'm thinking, you know, probably a high 3 to 4. I'm thinking a high 3 to 4. Not quite a 4 to 4. Not quite a 4 to 4, I'll acknowledge. But a high 3 to 4. For me, like a 1 out of 4 is like, this is terrible. Never drink this. That's horrible. A 2 out of 4 is like, you know, it's not to my personal preference, but some people may like it. That's like Bundaberg territory, in my personal opinion. 3 to 4 is like, you know, I'd buy it again personally. That's like, I'd have to say Old Monk, or I'd have to say probably Bacardi Reserve Ocho territory, both of which I like. I like the Old Monk and rum and coke, so they're not really drinking it straight. And this is definitely probably the highest 3 out of 4 I've got so far. So it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I'll personally buy again. But it's not quite a 4 out of 4. And a 4 out of 4 for me is like Appleton 12 or Mount Gay Black Barrel, something like that kind of thing. For me, this is most certainly a high 3 out of 4. If it was a little bit more dynamic, if it had a little bit more flavor going on, if it was a little bit more in depth, I think it would be a very, very, very solid, like low to mid 4 out of 4. But for me right now, this is a high 3 out of 4. It's definitely still a bottle I wouldn't mind buying again, but it's a high 3 out of 4 nonetheless. But I have very much enjoyed this experience, and I can say that I like the Queen Charlotte's Reserve Rum from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd have to say I do like it a little bit more so than not, and I'm looking forward to drinking the rest of the bottle, let me tell y'all what. And I think I might have to try some of the Muddy River Distillery's other rum varieties in the future. They've got a couple different ones, so maybe I should try some of those. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, y'all, for watching this video today. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video today. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video today, where I, an American, drank North Carolinian rum for the first time, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my other channels, all in the description down below. Go check them all out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, y'all. Till the next one, stay safe in peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, and I'm saying.